Hey all, Mercy here, and over the last week or so I've been playing Screamer. Screamer is the latest game from racing game developer Milestone, who have also made the Hot Wheels Unleashed series, MotoGP series, Monster Energy Supercross series, and countless others. They've been around a long time. To say that I was stoked for this game would be a gross understatement. It's been on my radar since that initial trailer launched all the way back in 2024. And let me tell you, Milestone absolutely delivered here. With some drawbacks, of course. But before I dive into the game, if you enjoy what I do, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more racing game content just like this. Alright, let's start with the story. Screamer takes place in a futuristic city called Neo Ray, where a racing tournament organized by the mysterious Mr. A is taking place. Each racer, or Screamer as they're called, is racing to collect the $100 billion cash prize. Yeah, $100 billion. With a B. Each character has their own motivations and reasons for being there, beyond just the cash, of course. The main character, Hiroshi, and his team, the Green Reapers, are there to avenge the death of their previous leader, Quinn. Their target, Gabrielle, is the supposed killer and the heir to Anaconda Corp, a company his father started. His mother, Abigail, the current CEO, has people spying on Gabrielle to keep him in line because she perceives him as weak or ineffective. Nobru, a previous Screamer champion, is fighting personal demons from a previous wreck that sent him into an early retirement. He decides to come out of retirement to help his brother Keiji out of a financial jam. There's also Strike Force Ramonda, a pop group that's using the Screamer tournament as a way to relaunch their careers. Anyway, the point being is that each character in this story has a unique motivation for doing what they're doing beyond just the cash. And as the plot unfolds, you learn and see more of what these crews may or may not be hiding. Honestly, I found the story to be pretty friggin' good, and it goes beyond what I'm used to seeing in racing games. The different characters, their dynamics changing and shifting as the game goes on, it's something you just don't see in racing games. Though I will say I didn't always feel that way about the quality of the story. It has to be said that Chapter 1 of this game is very exposition heavy. Some cutscenes go on for 15 minutes or longer as we get to know each character's background and why they're there. And these aren't the sort of animated cutscenes we see in many other games. Instead, Screamer primarily uses a visual novel style, where character models stand there and they light up as they're talking. I suppose there's nothing wrong with telling the story like this. I didn't mind it for the more minor plot lines, but for major plot points and emotional scenes, I just found it hard to be immersed. Each character is fully voice acted, and that will certainly help some people out, but I just found myself reading the dialogue to get through the scenes quicker. I just found many of the voices to be grating, and they have the same size and awkward pauses that you hear commonly in anime that drives me nuts. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me. I can't stand it. I love the anime aesthetic, don't get me wrong, I really do, but I can't say that I'm a fan of the way dialogue is handled. Each character also speaks in their native tongue, and while a good chunk of the characters speak English, I found it hard to read some of the non-English speakers' true emotions. Regardless of everything I just said though, that's sort of flipped on its head with the 3D animated cutscenes. These are beautiful, they fit the established aesthetic, and I do wish they would have had these for more of the game. They're just too few and far between. I would have loved to have seen more of these. They are phenomenal. Have you ever seen that meme where it's the drawing of a horse and one side of it is all detailed and the rest is drawn like a 5-year-old drew it? That's the perfect description of Screamer's story. Chapter 1 is that 5-year-old, Chapter 2 is a little better, and then Chapter 3 and 4 are just... I mean, this story truly goes off the rails in Chapter 4. Like I said, no spoilers, but I'm just going to tell you right now, it's something you gotta see to believe. If you were to just read about this plot online, you would think it's one of the silliest plots ever. And looking at it as someone who's beaten it, it is silly, but it's fun. It's engaging. It's one of the better stories I've seen in a racing game, and it's probably the best narrative in a racing game ever. I mean, they really tried to create a compelling narrative here beyond just the usual, you know, hey, this guy stole your car, so now you gotta go get it back, or you're the new guy in town, and now it's your turn to take over, you know what I mean? I appreciate them trying to mix it up. even if the pacing isn't the greatest, or maybe I wasn't as immersed as I would have liked to have been. But the experimental nature of Screamer extends past just its narrative. Its physics are unique, and I think will make or break your enjoyment with the game. Each car feels very sluggish and clumsy to drive if you're purely driving with the left stick. That's where the second stick comes into play, which controls how aggressive of a drift angle you have, and depending on which character you're playing as, that determines how your car is going to drive. There are no stat screens to compare one car or another, it's just something where you have to learn each person's car. Some cars are very understeery but maybe have a more aggressive drift angle, whereas others are more planted but can't drift as aggressively. I found that my favorite cars were one or the other, none of the ones in between. Noboru, for example, his car is practically sideways through the corners, whereas Lavinia is the opposite. Her car barely changes angle at all, but it's very predictable and planted. At first, I found the controls and handling to be very clumsy and unresponsive, but as I played the game more, it turns out that this was just a skill issue. I'd say after 4 hours or so, I felt very comfortable hitting my marks on the bigger tracks, and maybe after 10 hours or so, I felt way more comfortable on the more technical courses. I knew what I liked and I knew how to handle it and, which characters I should prefer over others. Something about hitting a perfect drift on a long corner really just tickles my brain in a way I didn't know I needed. Each track in the game is designed to complement the physics, with wide sweeping corners to hit those massive drifts on, as well as some slower, more technical corners to really challenge you. Some tracks even have shortcuts. I'm sure I haven't found all of them yet, but these are pretty essential to keeping up on higher difficulties. The visuals here are excellent too, with tracks taking place in vibrant, colorful cities, cold, rainy industrial zones, lush green countrysides, and even on a space station at one point. Yeah, it's, like I said, it's bonkers. I tended to prefer the shorter, less technical courses because, once again, I'm a simple man. I see those big drifts. Whew, they look so cool. The only tracks I didn't enjoy too much were the tri-oval, because you're not really drifting at all on this course, and again, this game isn't built for oval racing, so meh. And the tracks with the tight 90-degree turns. I still struggle to make these corners quickly at times. I just have a tendency to overshoot my entry a lot. And the soundtrack, as crazy as this is gonna sound, it plays a big role in that. It's just pure hype. It makes you want to drive faster, basically. It's a mix of like electronic and drum and bass. There's distorted down-tuned guitars. I have no idea what to call this genre, but all I know is that the soundtrack slaps. It's definitely being added to my rotation. On top of just racing, there is, of course, combat in this Combat Racer. The lore behind this is that there's a piece of technology installed in each car called the Echo that enables its driver to perform abilities based on who they are, their emotions, and their personality. Lore aside, how this works is that your boost bar fills up over time, but you can give it a little extra buff by shifting at the right time. Once you boost, it fills up the bar here on the right, which controls your shield and your strike. Shield is your defensive move, and strike is your offensive move. Strike is basically a mini boost that allows you to knock out other players. If you save up your strike and fill the bar, you can perform an overdrive, which kind of works like star power in Mario Kart, except if you hit a wall, you're donezo. This is a gross oversimplification of the system, but that's the gist of it. Each character has a unique modifier that affects how this system works. For example, it could be something as simple as how Hiroshi gets an immediate second boost, or how Rogine gets an immediate second strike, or something more complicated like how Lavinia has a much better boost, but the little triangle to activate that boost changes each time you try to use it. So there's a lot to think about each time you strap into a race in Screamer. But racing for the win isn't the only thing in Screamer, and the teams play a big role in team races. In team races, it's more than just about finishing 1, 2, 3. It's about racking up knockouts. So not only do you need to worry about finishing in a high position, but you also need to worry about racking up KOs. It's entirely possible for you to finish near the back of the field, but win the event just off of KOs, which I think is going to split some people. I think it's a fun variation, and I like the idea of working together to win an event, but I would like to see the finishing position pay out more, or the knockouts pay out less, or maybe they can pay out points based on position per lap instead of, position at the end of the race. Not really an issue in the single player, but online I'm already seeing the leaders start to lay back and let people pass them so they can rack up KOs. I just find that kinda lame, but let's stick to the single player for now. On top of the tournament, there's also the various challenge modes that allow you to compete on leaderboards against others across the globe. I'm a big fan of this kind of stuff, and the mode I enjoyed the most was Score Challenge. How this works is that you select your character, your starting track, and the starting AI difficulty. The higher the difficulty, the higher the multiplier. So after each win, you'll be given the option of 3 tracks. 2 of them being one difficulty higher and lower than you're on now, and then the third track being the one you're currently on. And they'll throw in different event types as well. There's an overdrive challenge where you're just trying to rack up as many knockouts as you can before either you hit a wall or the timer runs out. But the final event of every run is the same. It's a boss race, a 1v1 against Mr. A himself. My highest score was a little over 1 million points. Good enough for 443rd in the world. Let me know if you score higher than this and which character you used. I'm sure I'll be closer to 500th when this video goes up. There are other challenges as well, such as the overdrive challenge I mentioned earlier, checkpoints, and the like, but these are quick one-off events and I didn't find as much fun in them as I did the score challenge. Outside of those modes, you can also dive into Gage's Garage, which is where the customization comes into play. Screamer has a bunch of different options for each character, most of these unlockable just by playing the game or by completing certain challenges, like, for example, playing 50 races as a specific character. At the time of recording, I didn't have a ton of customization options unlocked, but I'm hoping to get this set here for NoMooreMercy soon. How badass does that look? And while we're taking a look at the cars, how cool do these cars look? I mean, they all have this retro kind of futuristic look, and each team is represented by their choice of car. It just makes sense for each team. Like, for example, the Corpos at Anaconda Corps, they all drive these shiny, soulless luxury cars, whereas Strikeforce Ramonda drive 90s Japanese sports cars covered in stickers and all sorts of colors. None of these are licensed, obviously, but I recognized Hina's Evo and Ritsuko's NSX instantly. That just about wraps up the single player content, but what about multiplayer? Multiplayer right now is pretty bare bones with only one playlist available, and that being a generalized playlist with both solo and team races. I did find some fun with the multiplayer. It's very old school in the sense that there's no battle pass to grind, no seasonal challenges, no limited time cosmetics, nothing like that. It's pretty sad I even have to point that out, but it is 2026 after all. Right now I have 2 major complaints though. The first being that this game's netcode is just not very good. Collisions will frequently put you in a dead stop, or even worse, they'll fling you straight backwards. As far as that side of the game goes, I never really looked at Screamer as a serious multiplayer game, so maybe the developers don't either, but come on, you gotta at least give us something here. It just flat out sucks when this happens to you and you're stuck riding around the back for the rest of the race. It totally kills the vibe and makes me want to just sit my controller down and just take a break. Though I have to say the bigger complaint of the 2 with Screamer's multiplayer, it's not really on the developers. It's just that I have yet to find a full lobby in my 5 or so hours online. But thankfully, lobbies roll, so you won't have to queue up after every race, and the game does backfill with bots, and the game has crossplay, so you're going to be playing with people across all the different platforms Screamer released on. But I do worry about the longevity of the game. We're only 2 weeks in at the time of this video's upload, and we're already having issues filling lobbies. That's never a good sign. With the game being priced at $60, I just think that some people are really unsure about the game's future, or if they're going to be putting a bunch of time into it and they're waiting for a discount. Which is fair, but for me personally, Screamer feels like it was made for me. It is the most feature-complete arcade racer that I think I've seen in a very, very long time. You're getting a 15 to 20 hour long story mode with interesting and unexpected plot twists, with additional solo challenges and multiplayer that I can see being very fun with your friends. It's a game that I can confidently say is the best arcade racer of 2026 so far, and it might even be the best game of 2026 in general. I'm just really curious to see how it stacks up against other big releases this year like Star Wars Galactic Racer and Forza Horizon 6. But only time will tell on that. Well, that just about does it for me. What do you guys think of Screamer? Have you picked it up yet? What would convince you to buy it if you haven't already? Let me know down in the comments below. I try to read every comment posted. Before I go, big shout out to my highest tier patrons, CD-ROM Fossil and Arcade Racing Central, as well as all of my patrons over on Patreon. You guys are awesome. My name is Mercy, and as always, have a good one.